Hi, I'm Carrie Ann Stout, founder and CEO of Vinco Bar Exam Coaching. And we are here today doing an interview with one of our bar exam passers. Woohoo! Yay! Congratulations!
Thank
Nilani
you.
is here with us this morning to talk a little bit about her bar prep experience in general and about her experience with Vinco. So, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Carrie Ann. I'm good, excited, and happy.
Like living the high, right?
Yeah,
Um,
still.
it never really goes away from what I
No.
can tell. Like 6 years later, when I still think about it, I get excited. So let's just jump right in. We're just sharing some information with people who are interested in learning more about what we're doing. And my first question for you is, when you were looking into getting some extra help with bar prep, like a coach or a tutor or something like that, what was important to you? What were you looking for in a company or a person at that point in time?
So for me, what I took it twice, and so the first time I took it, it was with Barbary. So I just knew the way that I had it last time wasn't good enough. It didn't fit me. So I wanted something a little bit more personalized. I wanted someone to pinpoint what exactly I was doing wrong. So I wanted to have a one-on-one tutor that would be able to do that for me and tell me if it was my writing style or if it was something knowledge based, but someone that would be able to see it, basically a third set of eyes, because I felt like I wasn't able to see what I was doing wrong. So I wanted someone to kind of guide me. And it wasn't always knowledge based, but someone to guide me with studying and someone to keep me accountable and basically set up a schedule for me. That way I have something to go off of and not just, I guess, not just like a plain schedule where it's like, okay, here you go. Do an outline for this, do an outline for that. Here are some MBA questions and stuff. But I wanted something more specific where they would be able to notice what topics in those subjects I was like lacking. So I
Mm.
wanted something, key thing for me was personalization and something customized to my own needs.
And I feel like there might be some overlap between this question and the next question because of what you were looking for. But probably one of the number one questions I get asked is like, what's coaching like versus tutoring, and like what really do you do? And you'd think like 5 years later I'd have a really good answer to this question, but I actually find that our students do a better job describing how we help them than I do. So how would you describe like what that coaching relationship was like and like the things your coach helped you with?
I think coaching is very different because it wasn't only about the bar exam and it wasn't only about questions, essays, or anything. It had to do, and that's something that Vinco taught me. There's a lot of internalization. It has to do with encouragement, feeling confident, just having a positive mindset. And I feel like that just made a huge difference this time because last time I didn't really have that. So this time I noticed the difference because coaching is very different where my tutor would constantly encourage me. And if I didn't do well on a certain set of questions, she would tell me how to fix that. And it wasn't something I would have to do on my own. I wouldn't feel stranded or feel like, okay, I have to do this on my own now. It's something we did together. So I felt like coaching was very different versus tutoring because I felt like tutoring is more teaching you like the law or like telling you this is what's going to be on the bar exam. So practice this and this. But coaching, it's more like, okay, how do you feel? Do you not feel comfortable about that? Let's talk about this more. And my coach, she was available basically 24/7 all the time. And it was either over the video app or through email or messaging. And it was very important to me because I would always have some kind of question and she would always be available and be ready to answer it. And so for me, I thought coaching was just a lot more than just the bar exam. And she really helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's like I think like a big takeaway for me for what you just said is sort of like the baseline is like, yeah, we're going to make sure you're doing what you need to do to pass the bar, but we're also looking at all this other stuff that's like
Yeah.
related, but that you might not be thinking about. And I think
Yeah.
it's a really good description of it. So thank you for helping us out with that. Um, and as you mentioned before that this time you passed was the second time you took the bar exam. And I think it's so helpful for students to hear, like, what did you do differently? Like, what are the some of the big changes you made that allowed you to be successful this time?
I'm not gonna lie, there were a lot of things I changed.
That's
It's
good.
like,
That's a good thing.
it's crazy because like, especially when I joined Vinco, there were so many things like through our Saturday morning meetings or through our individual prep sessions, there were so many things that my coach would tell me to focus on that I didn't focus on the time before. So one of them especially was, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to have all the knowledge in the world in your head. And I just had to let go of that. For the first time I took it, I focused a lot on the law, on memorizing my outline. And I just thought I had to know everything. Rules of perpetuity, I thought I had to know that.
What's that? I don't know.
Yeah, I still, to this day, I'm just like, I have no idea, honestly.
We're fine with that. We're fine with that.
Yeah. But the first time I took it, I focused a lot on memorizing the law and not really practice. And I think it's important this time, I think it's important to incorporate a lot of practice and not memorization. So that's something that I did this time. My tutor kept telling me, like, don't focus too much time on your outline. Do an outline, make sure you have all those important topics, and then focus on questions, because that's where you're going to learn a lot. And I'm not going to lie, that is where I learned a lot. So the first time I didn't do a lot of practice questions, especially not real questions. I did the Barbary questions, and those weren't real. So you notice the difference when you're doing real questions. So this time I used actual questions that they released from the NCBE.
Yeah.
And you just notice the patterns. You notice what they're looking for. And you just notice like, oh, okay, this is where I know they're going to try to trick me, or this is where they try to get me, but I already know it. So, and with my outlines, I didn't do like 500-page outlines like last time. It was mainly focused on, which I didn't even know this existed, but on NCB's website, the main topics. So I geared it towards that. Last time, it was just pretty much verbatim from what Barbary had in their outline. And this time it was more focused on what the big topics are. So that way I know most of the questions come from these topics. I should at least know these things. So I took out the memorization this time. I did more practice questions with real questions. I did more time stuff, essays. Last time I think I did only maybe, I'm not gonna lie, maybe like 5 essays. This time I did probably
I
like,
know that. You can't say things like that to me. I can't take it.
this time I did like, I can't even count,
Like
but
50 probably.
50, like maybe more for each subject. So it's like the day of the exam, you're just, you know what the topic is, and you're like, oh, that's kind of similar to the practice one that I did already. So I know an idea. And so I know how to kind of answer it. And even if I don't, I know some rule statements I could put on.
Yeah.
So I think that was big thing, let go of the memorization. And that was hard for me to do it, but I like was finally able to do it, especially with my coach's help, because every day she would be like, because I'm not gonna lie, at first when I started out, I was like,
it's hard to get that up.
so hard. It's so hard to especially be used to one way of tutoring and then switch into another. But at first when I started, I was still focused on memorization, and she was like, no, like stop. Don't worry. Yeah, we need to get on to practicing. And so I finally learned how to graduate from that and incorporate the new things.
Would you say that's like, if you were going to give like one tip to someone who's studying for the bar, do you think it would be about like memorizing versus practicing, or is there something else?
No, it's definitely memorization versus practicing for sure. Do more practice, focus less on memorization. And I would say practice. That's all you could do. And honestly, you're going to hope that, I'm not going to lie, I think I actually saw one of the questions that I had in a practice book. And it was like the same exact on the bar exam.
I hear that all the time. Like I saw, even if it's like 1 out of 200 questions, it's still like, you feel prepared now. Like, okay, like I was doing the right thing. Like I was doing something that's actually helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm super biased because I think questions are the most important thing, but so love that bit of advice. But my final question is a little self-serving, because I'm gonna ask you to say what you liked about working with Vinco, but it's also because people watching these videos are trying to find out more about us. So I think it's helpful for them to hear from our students, like, what did you really find like valuable or helpful? Just like 1 or 2 quick things.
So I think something that we don't get with many other companies, is the aspect of like encouragement and boosting your self-esteem. I think that's something as bar repeat takers or even first time takers that we don't necessarily focus on when we're taking the exam. Yeah. So with Vinco, they incorporate everything you could think of: mindset, practice, skills, everything. So it's not just a focus on the bar exam. It's not just focus on questions. It's, we need to fix the mindset. We need to boost your confidence and everything. And then everything else will play out by itself. And I think the other part that I loved about Vinco was it's a group thing. It's not just your coach. It's everyone. It's all the coaches. Even though I was assigned to one coach, you can reach out to any coach. So it's you really do feel that like familyness with Vinco, and it's all the students as well. It's, we're all helping each other. If someone finds a question that they don't know, they post it up. So I think Vinco does that, where it's like, it's a nice small group, and they really find a way to focus on you individually, but also everyone as a group. So I would think that those are the best things about Vinco. And helping me pass.
Yeah, right. It's like, I know, I did, like, disclaimer, I did tell everyone that they couldn't say that as the answer, but I like that those two things that you said are like really making me so happy, because we put like an emphasis on that. It's like, yes, it's you, and we're going to help you, but also it's us, and like, we can all pass, and we're all in this together. And I'm glad to hear that's focus on that. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me this morning. For you guys out there, if you are interested in learning more about Vinco, you can find us at vincoprep.com. In the meantime, I'll be back with more interviews with coaches and students later on this week.